Let's go. Let's go. Power Hour LSU talking offensive line. Only the most die-hard of LSU fans actually care about the unit that never gets enough respect. I'm happy with that Orgeron. He actually gave us specific names as to who might actually be the starters next year, with one huge surprise up the middle. I'm going to give you my thoughts on that unit, but honestly, to me, it doesn't really matter who lines up on the offensive line, because the success comes down to one single person. We will chat about that coming up. It's Power Hour LSU. Let's go. Are you kidding me? We killed it. That was the second highest viewed video we've had thus far. The Ed Orgeron and Dave Aranda beef. The comments were flowing. Shout out to Larry, who's been with me since day one, and Javian for hitting me up on Insta. Are you kidding me? And guys, our subscriber numbers, we're about to hit 200. Thank you. So, who's this one person? That's what we want to talk about today. Who's the one person? The answer we're looking for was actually kind of spoiled last week by Chuck, who is really smart. It's Myles Brennan. Now, let's make one thing clear. If the LSU offensive line is completely terrible, as in they let ends and tackles and blitzers run free all game, then no quarterback has any kind of success. And great coaching matters. James Cregg does make a huge difference. But as long as the offensive line isn't awful, Myles Brennan should be okay if he's able to do the basic things a quarterback and a spread offense needs to do to make it work. This video today is actually going to be very similar to our most popular video, which is the secret sauce that Joe Burrow has that Myles Brennan must get as well. And we talked about in that episode Joe Burrow's ridiculously crazy good running ability that nobody ever wants to talk about. But, of course, we talked about it because we're the best LSU show on the planet. Kidding, there's plenty of other LSU shows way better than ours. But, as we always do, we do a deep dive into one LSU topic. And today, we're going to do what we did for the Steve Ensminger video. Let's hit the film. And boom! Yes, just like our Ensminger video, we're going to do some film study. Some of you have requested more film study. If this isn't your thing, I totally get it. It's diehard LSU football chatter. And today, we are going to break down the LSU offensive line. A lot of you remember this play. Joe Burrow buying some extra time, pass protection breaking down, and Ja'Marr Chase scoring a touchdown. Now, let's chat about the LSU offensive line and how important they were to the success for LSU last year. And really, the only way you can judge an offensive line is from the end zone angle. And what we're going to overall discuss is that offensive line play has changed so much since the old days, the Will Blackwell days, the Saron Black, Ben Wilkerson, Lyle Hitt, name any LSU offensive linemen from those run-based years. Those guys actually had to get guys out of the hole. They had to move bodies for the offensive play to work. To me, spread offenses come down to a quarterback's ability to buy extra time in the pocket. And if a quarterback is able to do that, it makes a big difference. We talked about it in episode 10, like we already mentioned. Our most popular episode was about Joe Burrow's ridiculously good running ability and his ability to extend the play. Can Myles Brennan do something like this? So, for the offensive line, we're actually going to look at 4 different plays today. We're going to look at plays where even when the offensive line blocked a play perfectly, the 3rd and 17 play against Texas, that's coming up, it still came down to Joe Burrow buying just a little bit of time. So, corner is actually going to come on a blitz here. And what's going to happen is, since this corner's coming off the edge, this rusher's actually going to come in this B gap, A gap, and you know the rest. So, I want you to notice this. Badori I can't ever say his name. He's not the normal starting right tackle. He's in there. He was a senior. And as you can tell, he completely whiffs on this block. And this guy is coming at Joe Burrow at full speed, and Burrow is not even looking at him. Look at where his head is. Now, this is going to absolutely blow your mind, because it did mine too. That Joe Burrow's, he hardly even looked at this guy. Let's start over one more time. You're gonna this blows my mind. He gives a little ground, and without even looking, he just felt this pressure. Just steps up. That was bad protection. That was a bad protection breakdown. Now, of course, it was just one person. Traore with this block. Clyde did a good job getting this defensive back out of there. Still, bad protection. Quarterback makes a play. Joe Burrow steps up, and it's a touchdown. So that Ole Miss play was a play where the offensive line had a man-to-man protection breakdown, but Austin Deculus, the normal right tackle, wasn't in the game. So it shows you that great quarterback play can overcome backup or mediocre offensive line play. So now what I want to do is show you a play where it was just really good defense. It wasn't the offensive line's fault totally that a blitzer came free, but Joe Burrow still makes the play. Just look at that. Just throws the guy off of him. And because of a crappy spot, Clyde got that first down. It was 4th and 1. Now, let's run this thing back. And once again, you can only really judge offensive line play from the end zone view. And as you can tell, it's an empty set. So, empty set means 5 wide receivers. No personal protector. And what Alabama's going to do is run an absolutely perfect blitz on this play. And the pressure is actually going to come from this guy. Now, if you're Lloyd Cushenberry and you're making the offensive line calls, if you're Austin Deculus, if you were to choose who would be coming on this play, you would think it'd be him or him. Not this guy, but you'll see what Alabama does here is this guy actually fakes like he's coming, backs out, and then the second wave of pressure comes through untouched. So, this is just a perfectly designed defensive play. And the blitz was timed to perfection. I do not at all put this on the LSU offensive line. Maybe Damian Lewis should have peeled off and taken this guy. But it's extremely difficult to see that. Especially it's 3rd and 7. The crowd is going wild. But nevertheless, the point remains the same. A free blitzer comes. Joe Burrow shakes him off and picks up what should have been a first down. Just look at that. Once again, not so great protection, and it doesn't matter. Now, if you're a fan of Power Hour LSU, you remember this play. 4th and 1, 33-13. This just happened to be the focus of an entirely different episode. Yes, if you're a fan of the channel, you know that Ed Orgeron actually made a mistake by punting the football instead of going for it. So, if you want to watch that, you can check it out. But the truth remains the same. That actually was a first down. That was a crappy spot for LSU. But it didn't end up mattering. Orgeron overall coached a really good game. LSU, of course, finally beat Alabama. Finally. So far, we've discussed one play where One person got beat man-to-man, and Joe Burrow was able to make a play. We've already talked about another play where Joe Burrow was able to make another big play. That should have been a first down. And that wasn't, to me, bad protection. That was just better defense. So now, let's go to the biggest game of them all, the national championship game. Let's go. So far, we've only discussed plays that turned out to be huge plays. A long touchdown, a first down in a critical game. But here's the great thing about Joe Burrow. These little plays like this, they don't show up on any highlight reel. They hardly ever show up. No one ever talks about them, but this is the brilliance of Joe Burrow. Sometimes the right play is just evading the rush and getting a 3-yard gain because that kept the drive alive. Here's another example. I put this on Lloyd Cushenberry of the LSU offensive line missing an assignment here. Now, we're not going to get too technical as to why Lloyd Cushenberry did what he did here, but let's go ahead and roll it. Wide open guy, Joe Burrow misses him and picks up 3 yards. And you see Adrian McGee tell Lloyd Cushenberry, I got it. So we actually talked about this play in the Steve Ensminger episode. So, why did Lloyd Cushenberry run all the way over here to this blitz? Well, the last time Clemson lined up like this, 2-3 techniques, it was only the third time they had done it so far in the game. A free blitzer came from over here, so Cushenberry knew that there would be a guy coming. What he should have done is just pick up this guy here. And you'll see why that was such a bad error. Notice, McGee picks up that blitzer, but Cushenberry lets this guy run through free. Damian Lewis was a little too late for him to pick it up. And look, Joe Burrow isn't even looking at the rush. This is what it's all about. Can Myles Brennan even do something like this? Pick up just a small 3-yard drive, a 3-yard gain to keep the drive alive. And Joe Burrow sees this guy running at him. And this is why pass protection matters so much. So because of Joe Burrow's ability to make this guy miss, he was able to pick up the yardage needed to keep this drive alive. If you take a sack, this becomes 3rd and a mile, and you have no chance picking up the first down. And boom, Joe Burrow sees that he's about to get sacked. Instead, he steps up and gets what he can. I want you to look at it one more time. So this is what the big difference is between great pass protection versus bad pass protection, and you'll see this. If Cushenberry just picks up this guy right here, guess who's wide open? Justin Jefferson. Joe Burrow would have just chunked it. If he had time in the pocket, he would have hit Jefferson. Nobody's around him. That's a 20, 25-yard gain. Jefferson short crossers killed Clemson all game. And I just want to show you this. If you want to see the rest of this drive in our film study, go to our Steve Ensminger film study. But this next play shows you why just picking up those 3 yards and not taking that sack is so important. LSU had not been good on 3rd down up to this point. 3rd and 5, clock's running. And guess who they go to on the very next play? Jefferson. First down. Run him over, baby. And he picks up a first down. Now do you see why that is so important? It's not just about throwing a long touchdown against Ole Miss or picking up a clutch first down against Alabama. It's about evading the rush and keeping the drive alive. Now, if there was good pass protection, guess what? LSU would have had a 20-yard throw to Jefferson on 2nd down. But because the pass protection broke down and Cushenberry made an uncharacteristic mistake, guess what happens? Joe Burrow evades that rush, picks up 3 yards. He actually did something very similar on 1st down picked up a few yards to get to make it 2nd and 5 instead of 2nd and 10. When you do that, it makes situations manageable. Unlike our next play, which was not a manageable 3rd down situation, but because the LSU pass protection was good, it worked out, and it happened to be the first legendary LSU play of the year. So here we are, baby. You know what's going to happen. It's 3rd and 17. You're in now Williams-Campbell Stadium. Or is it Campbell-Williams Stadium? I know they just renamed it. Anyway, take a look who's in the building. Rust Cole is in the building. Wolf of Wall Street. An underrated McConaughey movie is Mud. It's based in Arkansas. You would like it. Anyway, here's McConaughey. It's 3rd and 17. Obviously, Texas only down by 6. We talked about it in last week's episode. The LSU defense has not stopped the Texas offense yet. And you know what's going to happen. 3rd and 17. It doesn't look like Texas is blitzing. And guess what they do? They house it, baby. And guess what LSU does? They house it too. Stiff arm. Let's go. 3rd and 17. Oh, boy. And look at this. The Burrows going wild in Austin. LSU, the LeBron James celebration. McConaughey, what happened? Oh, boy. Justin Jefferson was so good. And LSU, of course, had to go for 2. The masterminds that linger. And bye-bye, Brady. So, don't worry. We're going to get our end zone camera, and we're going to break this play down as a whole. A lot of you are going to be thinking in this video, God, you've been picking on the offensive line all video. This is actually perfect protection. Perfect protection. This is as good of an offensive line play you're going to see. And in large part, it's because the first unit is very healthy. You have Sadiq Charles, McGee, Cushenberry, Lewis, and Deculus. But even when you have perfect protection, you still need the quarterback to buy just that little extra second. So, boom. LSU picks up everything. Edwards-Helaire, good pickup right here. He actually missed a protection assignment earlier in this game. Boom. He sticks him. Some offensive line coaches would say that LSU gave up too much ground here. I disagree. It's hot. It's 95 degrees in Texas. Bubba, a commenter last week, pointed out how hot it was. The game had been going so fast. And look, it's 3rd and 17. The blitz call is actually good. None of the receivers have their backs turned yet because they have to run such a long route. So because the blitz came and there is some pressure, Joe Burrow still has to buy just an extra second. Now look, he could have thrown the football here, but he wanted to give Justin just a little extra time because we all know Justin Jefferson is so good at the stem of his route. And because he just wiggles his way into this little pocket, just look at that. And he throws a perfect ball right there. Now look at all that extra separation he was able to create just with that little half step. Watch, it's just, he could have actually just stayed there and just thrown the football, but because he wiggles just a little bit, it just gives you that little bit of time. Once again, this is not bad protection at all. And even Joe Burrow runs into a rusher who was perfectly blocked. And he did so just to give Jefferson that little bit of time. The inventiveness, the creativeness creativeness, is that a word, of Joe Burrow is phenomenal. Now, here's the thing. I'm not asking Myles Brennan to be Joe Burrow. I'm just showing you, even in perfect protection, quarterbacks still have to deliver the ball. They still have to give you that little bit of extra time. Look at that. He just ran into a rusher. It doesn't have to be a perfect spiral. Murph Baldwin, who's a really good LSU film study guy. $100 million playmakers is what he calls them. Can you buy that extra second to get the football into your hands of the playmakers? Once again, the Burrow's gone crazy. I can't get enough of Proud Papa. Ugh. Let's go. We got down to the nitty-gritty. And let me tell you what, if you made it until now in this video, you are a true diehard LSU football fan, so thank you so much. And the reason why I wanted to show all four of the plays is that the common theme was still the common theme. It comes down to the quarterback. Everything in the spread offense comes down to the quarterback. And let me tell you what, the offensive line, they deserved the Joe Moore Award. They were the best unit. Lloyd Cushenberry and the rest of that group, phenomenal. They deserved it, and all four of the starters actually ended up getting drafted. So all four of those starters are in the NFL now, and I think all of them will turn out to be pretty good players. So now what we're going to do is take a deeper look at the unit in the next episode. What do they have in common with this one? And as promised, I'll show you the depth chart that Ed Orgeron revealed to my buddy T-Bob at 104.5. And as you can tell, no surprise, Dare Rosenthal at left tackle and Ed Ingram at left guard. But the newbie, Liam Shanahan, the Harvard transfer, Ed Orgeron says that's where he wants him to be, is at center, which is interesting. Chasen Hines at right guard, and Austin Deculus, the only returning starter, at right tackle. And, of course, you have a lot of players that are going to be in the mix there. Joseph Evans. What about Cardell Thomas? Like, the most hyped offensive lineman pretty much since Lyle Collins. Is he even going to see the field next year? And then you still have Anthony Bradford, who is another guard in that same class. So, in the next episode, we're going to break all those guys down individually, and we'll see how the offensive line will shape out. Boom! Guys, I know this was a longer episode. Film studies tend to be that way. I want to show you every nook and cranny because this is LSU, but very deep. Like, we get deep into the nitty-gritty. We have fun. I mean, let's be honest. It's kind of crazy to relive some of the Joe Burrow highlights. And I don't want anyone to think that I want Myles Brennan to be Joe Burrow. We're never going to see quarterback play at that level. And the more I watch Burrow, the more I think he separated himself from every other quarterback that has ever played the game of college football. Like, really think about this. How many quarterbacks intentionally jump into a defensive tackle just to get his wide receiver to have a little more separation? The dude just made things up sometimes as he went, and it still worked. We all know about the Georgia throws, Oklahoma throws. Any game you want to think of, this dude was just unbelievable. So I don't want you to think I'm expecting Myles Brennan to be that. I'm just showing you that Myles Brennan's going to have to do some of that. And let's be honest. I saw some of that when against Utah State. I saw him step up in the pocket and gain a few yards for a play. So I think he can do it. If you want more on this topic, I highly recommend you do check out episode 10. All the links will be in the description below. And yes, sports gyms, we're starting to gain more momentum. A bobblehead blogger by the name of Kevin, he actually wrote an article about us on sports gyms. We're giving stuff away on that channel, so make sure you check that out if you're into sports collecting. All links in the description below. Let's go! It's Power Hour LSU. Boom! Ba 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 da ba da ba da ba.